Welcome back to the POA Desk by poas.ae. In the last episode, we established a simple principle. Notarized is not the finish line. A power of attorney has to be correctly scoped, correctly executed, and usable by the institution receiving it. That raises a very practical question. Should you go directly to a government portal, use a POA specialist, or instruct a lawyer? There is no single answer for every matter, and there should not be. These routes solve different problems. You need a POA for a transaction that appears straightforward. Online, you'll find an official digital service, a private preparation provider, and several law firms. Each looks plausible, but they do not necessarily provide an equivalent service. The better question is, what kind of problem do you need someone to solve? Route 1 is the government portal. This can be a good route, where the transaction fits an official service. You know which POA is required, the parties meet the conditions, and you are comfortable submitting the application yourself. The UAE Ministry of Justice has an online digital POA service, covering a range of categories, including real estate, vehicles, company management, and lawyer representation. Its service information also sets out an electronic process using POAS. That is valuable access, but a portal is a channel. It does not necessarily decide which powers your bank, developer, registry, or counterparty needs. You still have to choose the correct service. Enter accurate information and match the authority to the transaction. If the path is standard and you are confident about those points, self-service may be entirely suitable. Route 2 is a specialist preparation and execution support provider. This route can make sense where there is no legal dispute, but you need help turning a practical objective into an appropriate document and process. Perhaps you know the outcome. Sell one property or register one vehicle, but not which authority is needed. Perhaps the principle is overseas, or you want one party to organize the information draft and execution steps. That is process support. But a specialist provider is not automatically a law firm, and document support is not legal advice. A responsible provider should state that boundary. Route 3 is a qualified lawyer. A lawyer is the right direction when the central issue is not just how to prepare or execute the document, but what your legal rights, duties, or risks are. Examples include a dispute, uncertainty about capacity, a complex company authority chain, threatened litigation, an estate issue, or powers affecting ownership or liability across jurisdictions. You may also need a lawyer, where drafting depends on interpreting an agreement, court order, constitutional documents, or unusual legal structure. The distinction is not simple document versus expensive document. It is the nature of the judgment required. If the question is, which route matches a known, uncontested transaction, a government service or specialist may be enough. If it is, what am I legally entitled or obliged to do? That points toward legal advice. Sometimes the best answer is a combination. A lawyer may advise on scope, while a preparation provider coordinates documents, execution, and attestation. Or a specialist may identify an issue that should go to a lawyer before drafting. That handover is a sign of proper role definition. Here is a simple decision test. First, is there any dispute, contested right, or uncertainty about capacity? If yes, start with a lawyer. Second, is the transaction unusual, high risk, or dependent on interpreting other legal documents? If yes, legal advice is sensible before execution. Third, is the matter standard, and do you already know the receiving institution's required wording and process? If yes, the official portal may be the most direct route. Fourth, is the matter standard in legal substance, but complicated in coordination? If yes, a specialist may be useful. And fifth, can the provider explain what it does not do, and how the receiving institution will assess the document? If not, pause. Here is our own boundary. For poas.ae, that means a defined lane. We coordinate document, preparation, and execution support. We do not determine disputed rights or replace legal advice, and we cannot control how the recipient assesses the document. The key takeaways are these. 1. A government portal is often a strong option for a standard matter when you know exactly what you need. 2. A POA specialist is useful for document and process coordination, but should be transparent about the limits of that role. 3. Use a qualified lawyer when the matter requires legal judgment, rights analysis, dispute strategy, or bespoke risk advice. 4. These routes can complement one another. The right route is the one that solves the actual problem. And 5. Before paying anyone, ask what is included, what assumptions the quote is based on, and what happens if the facts change. If you are unsure which category your matter falls into, you can describe the intended transaction at poas.ae. If it requires legal advice, that should be identified before the process goes too far. In the next episode, we will look at the 6 questions a competent POA provider should ask before giving you a firm quote. I'm Patrick. Thanks for joining me at the POA Desk.